Hello, wonderful souls, tuning in to another episode of Whispers of the Womb. I'm Suzanne, your guide through the realms of holistic wellness. Today I'm joined by the incredible Jess Seitz, hailing from the Sunshine State of Florida. Jess is not just an occupational therapist, but also a remarkable vagina business coach, dedicating her expertise to helping women worldwide overcome the challenges of vaginismus and reclaim the joy of intimacy. In our intimate conversation, Jess opens up about her personal journey, a courageous battle with vaginismus that spanned over 8 years. Through sheer determination and a profound understanding of her own body, she triumphed over the struggles that many face in silence. Now Jess is on a mission to empower and educate others, offering insights into mind, body work and neural modulation. Join us as we explore the transformative power of mind-body practices, the intricacies of neural modulation, and the incredible community that Jess has cultivated. Discover how these tools not only aid in overcoming chronic pain, but also contribute to overall well-being. Jess's story is a beacon of hope, reminding us that we're not alone in our journeys. So grab your favourite cup of tea, find a cosy spot, and immerse yourself in this enriching episode where we unravel the mysteries of the body and celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. So welcome, Jess. Please share with the listeners what you do and a little introduction about your online coaching business, Pain-Free Intimacy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. So I'm Jess. I'm an occupational therapist and a vaginismus coach. And I get to help women from all over the world move past vaginismus or painful sex so that they can enjoy intimacy, which is a bit personal for me because I myself had vaginismus for a long time. And it took me a long time to figure out how to get my body to work with me and how to get past this. And so after going through vaginismus and finding out what doesn't work for 8 years, I kind of took a break, celebrated for a while, and then came back and was able to help now other women kind of learn more about their bodies, what works, what doesn't work, and how we can just get past this once and for all. So yeah, so I do an online, I have an online coaching program that is about 12 to 16 weeks, give or take. And we have fun. We go through it. We do a lot of awesome like mind body work. We do nervous system modulation work. We do all kinds of great things in a wonderful community. And we are ending vaginismus. So it's amazing.
That's just so amazing. I mean, just to have someone like you out there in this community helping women with this is just so wonderful. So thank you for sharing that, and also, about your own personal situation that's led you to here. And I am a great believer that we do make the best coaches, the people who've suffered. We've suffered for a reason, and we're here now to help other people. So thank you. On your website, I know you on there mentions about mind, body, and neuromodulation. And I was just wondering if you could share with me and the listeners what that kind of means and what is it in entailing.
Oh, I love this question. Okay, so mind body work is pretty, I think, amazing. It's pretty incredible work that our body can do to help kind of progress through some of our chronic pain or just like chronic conditions that we encounter. So part of this was before I kind of got into working specifically with vaginismus, was working as an occupational therapist with chronic pain. And I was helping kind of tap into the nervous system to help manage our chronic pain syndrome, our symptoms with a lot of my clients. And so, I probably should have recognized earlier on that this would have been a beneficial thing for me to apply to vaginismus. But, sometimes it's hard to even step in between roles like that when it's your own personal story. So I so what vaginismus is, I guess I can back up and define more what vaginismus is. Vaginismus is an involuntary muscle contraction in response to penetration, so vaginal penetration. And that's where the vaginal wall muscles constrict and close off upon the threat of something kind of being inserted. And so for some women, they cannot get anything into their vaginal opening, whether that's tampons, fingers, speculums, or a penis. For other women, they are able to have penetrative sex, but it's incredibly painful. There's burning, stinging, feels like they're being torn open. It's pretty intense in all from the one side where it feels like a wall to the other side where there's burning with penetration. It's all just miserably intense. And so everyone kind of has a different experience with it, but there are definitely themes that we see with vaginismus. And so recognizing that, well, as I was going through my personal treatment, did a lot of the traditional just approaches to vaginismus, which are pelvic floor therapy, which I love pelvic floor therapy. I think it's amazing, it's incredible, and it can do wonders for our bodies and our pelvic floors. But I was just not finding a lot of success personally in pelvic floor therapy. And then with that, we do dilators. And so dilators are, I have one here, but they're these cylindrical tubes that are graduated in size. The smallest one is smaller than, in some sets, every set is different, but a lot of times it's about the size of a finger or smaller. And then the largest one is ideally about the size of the goal, which for many women is a penis, but we can also have goals being tampons or different things. So you progress through the dilators. And so with pelvic floor therapy, you can do dilators. I was able to progress through all of the dilators, and I was not able to transition to pain-free sex. And so for me, it was frustrating to see my body do what I asked it to do, but then not be able to have the functional outcome I was looking for. And that's where I just was met with frustration over and over and over again, and would just spiral back down, and then I wouldn't be able to get the smallest one in again. And it's just like, how is this even possible? And then other traditional therapies, there's counseling, and there's sex therapy, there's hypnosis, there's all kinds of just different ways that we try and get rid of vaginismus. And I had tried almost all of them in my 8 years. And I just was able to make a little bit of progress in one, but it would never get me to my goal. And after 8 years was just beside myself. I was not in a good psychological space. I was depressed. I was angry. I turned to bitterness towards my husband, my husband is amazing. He's the most incredibly supportive, kind husband in the whole world, who never suggested anything negative, never pressured me, but I just felt like I was unworthy of him. So, and that response started pushing him away in anger. If I'm angry to him, maybe he won't want to be with me. So all of these, yeah. So I was just not good. It was affecting our marriage. So I realized something's got to change. I can't go back and do these same things over and over again, and I'm not getting the results I want. I think they say insanity is like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Yeah. Okay, this doesn't seem to be working. So that's where the mind body modulation came in. And so I took a step back. It's like, I have got to try a different approach here. And so thankfully, I was working as an occupational therapist in mind body work, nervous system modulation stuff, and decided maybe vaginismus isn't just like a pelvic floor muscle problem. And maybe it's not an all in my head problem. Maybe it's in that space in between. And so kind of created my own treatment plan, started treating myself, doing my occupational science models of, person, environment, occupation, all of this stuff to come together and realize that there are holes in my recovery. So filled in those holes, and just put together this mind body modulation approach, added into kind of some other strategic things that I did too. And with that, I was finally, after 3 to 4 months of doing this, finally able to transition to pain-free sex, which was shocking to both me and my husband. And so still to this day, I don't use dilators. Have a sex drive. I like this. I enjoy it. And it's amazing. Now I get to help women all over the world learn about this mind body modulation. So that's kind of the story of how I got to this point. And so what exactly is that mind body modulation piece? So this is where we're kind of we say mind body, there is that connection between the mind and the body, and that is through the nervous system. And so our nervous system has many, many different ways that it interacts with our body and our environment. And so basically you take stimulation in from the environment, you take that, sensory processing, information in from the environment, and that's everything. That's how the birds are chirping outside. That's the light coming in through the window, but it's also the floor underneath of your feet right now and the underwear that you no longer feel that you're wearing. All of that is sensory input that comes into your brain at every given second of the day. And your brain usually does a pretty good job at sorting through what needs to have attention given to it and what can be toned out, what's going to, react in a heightened response, what's going to be a calming response. And our brains do really well with that for the most part. And so, but with some of these chronic pain conditions, like vaginismus, our brain isn't doing a good job at coordinating with our body through the nervous system, the sensory input that's coming in. And so, yeah, as we figure out what input is coming in, what input is being processed, and what output is resulting, when we find those breakdowns, that's where we can start doing some of the modulation, shifting, dysregulation kind of work to help support our systems better so we get the desired outputs that we are looking for and therefore function better as, humans or women in the bedroom. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the overview of it.
So first of all, thank you so much for sharing such personal and intimate, details of your life. And I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that to get to where you are today. That must have been, like you say, so frustrating. And it kind of, as you were explaining it there in that way, I was kind of thinking of myself with my endometriosis. It was that similar kind of thing. It was like I was either people were saying there was nothing wrong with me, or it was, well, that's it, just get on with it. And it was that all this different information coming at once, and it's very difficult to know where to really start. But then, like you go down all these different routes, and right, well, I'll try this, that didn't work, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try, and then eventually you get to a point where you go, I need help, I need help. But thank you.
Exhausted.
Pardon?
I would say you just get to the point of exhaustion.
Absolutely, yeah, it does. And when you're in pain, it's a really tricky kind of thing to even try and explain to other people as well. And, like you say there, for your frustration. And I know, going back to what you were talking about at the beginning as well, I can remember when I started my period, and obviously no one knew at the time I had endometriosis. And I started my period on a family holiday, and I was, 14? And my mum gave me like a Tampax, and I was like, couldn't even get it anywhere near. Couldn't. It just was not having it at all. So she went out and bought sanitary pads for me, and every time I tried using one of them, I would just burst into tears, like literally. And I can remember, like, not really mentioning it too much to friends, but a little bit, and them, like, basically kind of the reaction was like, "Well, what's wrong with you? Like, just put it in." Like, it won't go in. And actually, it turned out years later, I had a tipped uterus. It wouldn't have, it never ever helped. Even when I could get to that point, it never worked because my periods were so heavy that they would just need to be replaced constantly. So there was no point really. Um, so that leads me on to your program that you do, Mind Body Sex program. And I just thought you could share a little bit about that. What does that entail, and who do you offer that to?
Yeah, so I offer a pretty comprehensive vaginismus program, like you said, called the Mind Body Sex Reset. And the name is because we are resetting mind, body, and intimacy, and allowing our body to kind of do a big shift. So part of and this, I mean, stems from a lot of my struggles personally, but part of my frustration with this was I always felt like the goal for everyone was for me to be able to either get to that largest dilator or just be able to functionally get a penis inside of me. And so once I was able to finally get the penis inside of me, but it was incredibly painful. And but it was celebrated. It was like, you reached your goal. And I was like, this was not my goal. No, my goal was for this to enjoy intimacy, like, to be honest, but
For it to be pleasurable and
to be
wanting
pleasurable.
to do it again. And yeah.
Yes. So I just got exhausted of people being like, well, just come back if you want to get pregnant. And we can figure out how we can do this better so it doesn't hurt so bad. It's like, listen, so my intimate, my pleasure isn't that important. It's all about, can I get pregnant and did it go inside you? And I was like, there's got to be something more. And so realizing that I don't want to just help women get a penis inside of them. Like, that's not the goal. The goal, I know from every woman I've talked to, is for this to be pleasurable and connecting with their partners. And so in order to get to that point, we need to do a little bit more than just doing some pelvic floor exercises and some dilators. And so we're resetting kind of the whole body. We're doing mind, body, soul, spirit, resetting all of those so that we can have a shift in framework and be able to finally heal. I say this is kind of like, I do primarily work with Christian women because Christian women do have higher rates of vaginismus. And I also felt, as a Christian myself, just unsupported a lot of times in people's view of intimacy. Part of it was my intimate life was not of value to others. It was all function for them. And I felt like, for me, this is a deeply spiritual thing. And so that's why I wanted to create a safe place for this to remain a deeply spiritual thing as we heal. But in the Bible, there is kind of a saying where you don't put new wine into old wineskins. The saying with that being, like, if you put new wine into an old leather wineskin, as that wine expands, it cracks and ruptures the old wineskin. So you want to put it in new wineskins. And so I kind of felt like my vaginismus story was constantly trying to put the new wine into an old wineskin. Okay, you have this functional activity of, you can put the penis in you. So great, here you go. And then it was just burst. And so I realized I had to do the wineskin adjustment too. I had to shift a lot of my frameworks, my processing, my sensory experience, so that when I could do the functional act of, like, yes, penetrative sex, it was supported and healthy and expanded with my new framework and mindset. So that's my hope in this program.
The foundation was there, ready for,
Yes. So with the Mind, Body, Sex Reset program, we're resetting mind, body, soul, spirit. We're getting everything kind of together so that you go through this whole big process, and you, at the end of it, your body is so eager for pleasure and so desiring of this, and it's ready for it functionally and in a whole mind, body experience too. And so I do have different elements of the program, but they're all intertwined together. So it is based on, like, the biopsychosocial model, which is biology, psychology, and then social context. I add spiritual into that as well. So we do, like, whole person, holistic pieces. It's not just focusing on your pelvic floor muscles. I'm focusing on you as an individual and in your role and your occupation of sex. And the other fun thing is we invite your partner in too. So we do a bunch of, like, fun partner activities and integrate him in, so that you desensitize not just to the act of this, but also to him. Because for a lot of us, we have built up an subconscious, unconscious fear reaction when, it's time to be intimate, because he has led to pain in the past. Unintentionally, none of this is ever, like, something we consciously know, but as we integrate him in, we're strategically desensitizing the body to him and re-inviting that connection and that pleasure together, and removing out a lot of that kind of just under the surface fear and anxiety that we've kind of grown to associate with the act of intimacy with this other important human. So kind of how the program works. There's a lot more in it, but and overall,
I love that whole sort of, just the whole package that you've developed there, which is, looking at that whole picture, and that's brilliant that you're involving the partner as well to make this work and bring this as the outcome that you got.
Yeah, it matters. It takes two people that have sex, and in general. So, and the goal a lot of times is, to be together. But I find that for a lot of women, it becomes like, okay, well, you work on yourself and you get yourself better and do what you need to do, and then come back to me when you're ready. And it's like, this is a two-person game. So we make sure we integrate him into the healing journey for both of us, and support him in that too. But so we go together.
I touched on my endometriosis journey just earlier. Then, when we first talked a while ago, we we talked about endometriosis and the effects it has and the trauma on the body. So can you share with the listeners your endometriosis woes, like what sort of happened with you? What was your journey?
Yeah, so, well, similar to you, Suzanne, when I first started my period, it was like not great. Bled a lot for a lot of days. And so it really kind of landed me in gynecology offices from the age of 13. And so I think my period on usually it lasts between 2 to 3 weeks long of bleeding. And so I have been through periods of like low iron and anemia and um, also borderline going crazy because when you bleed that long, you just start going crazy, especially as a teenager when you're trying to be functional and have fun and you're constantly needing to
Yeah.
replace pads and stuff. So anyway, yeah, so gynecologists from the age of 13, and they were never ever pleasant. And I think this is ultimately kind of what led to my vaginismus. There's a
Mhm.
lot of pieces that go into why someone can get vaginismus. I don't think this is the only thing, but I was held down on tables by nurses as I had my pap smear done and exams done, and it was traumatizing. Um, and so that has been a huge part of just constantly having kind of no answers either because it's just, I don't know, everything looks good because endometriosis is not something you can just kind of go in and visualize unless you, from, at least last I've heard, is unless you go in and kind of have that surgery to see and explore. Um, and so, yeah, I never really had any answers. So there's a bit of ambiguity there. Am I normal? Is this fine? Like, what's going on? And then I had vaginismus kind of surface, and it's like, well, now I really don't like my my vagina and my pelvis because now it bleeds all the time, and I can't have fun with it. And then I also have lovely, miserably GI issues that have been linked to the endometriosis and just like the endometrium lining growing on my a lot of my intestines and the nerves that innervate that and just causing a lot of pain. So,
Mhm.
and just diarrhea and all kinds of not great GI symptoms. But the cool thing is that as I was doing a lot of this work with vaginismus and doing a lot of the mind body modulation stuff, I did see a lot of relief in my endometriosis symptoms. I won't say all of them because there definitely is flare ups and seasons where it's more challenging. But I have a strategy now when
Yeah.
those flare ups happen.
Mhm.
I have a okay, here is how I can support my body better, how I can regulate my nervous system so that this doesn't have to be as extreme as it's been in the past. And
Yeah.
that has been so empowering to, yeah, at
Mhm.
least be able to feel like I have some kind of control over the pain and the frustration that this is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know how traumatic it can be, and like I've been blue lighted to hospital I don't know how many times, and fainted, and people not knowing what was wrong, and it is so traumatic. And similar to you, the same kind of things happened when I was a child, and it is very, very stressful, and you do grow up not really liking your body, which is so bitterly sad, really, to think that that's what we've had to grow up with as teenagers and then young women. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
I do
So
remember, I would say there's one time I was at work at the hospital, and with endometriosis, you get this wonderful thing called endo belly, where you just
yep,
get so much inflammation, you look like you're pregnant. And this is at the height also of my vaginismus. And this one girl goes, "Oh my god, she did it! She went there. You never go there." But she said, "Oh my gosh, congrats! You're pregnant! I didn't know." I was Oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed. I was like, "No, I have a very upset, distended belly right now because I'm just in pain and that's endometriosis and I can't even have sex to get pregnant." So it's just like that hit so hard. I remember I still to this day, every time I see my belly get distended and get angry, I think about that interaction and I'm
well,
just, oh,
that happened to me 3 times,
oh,
and 2 times I did made excuses, and I was like, "Oh no, no, it's just I've got like a poorly stomach," like, and made it feel like it was me that had the problem because they were horrified. And I actually, in all of my 20s and 30s, I actually had half of my wardrobe was maternity clothes. so that when it was that time of the month, I could disguise the belly. I would have like dresses that would hang from the bust so that you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And this one time, this lady stopped me and she did it. She put her hands on my belly and
No,
she
she
was like,
didn't.
oh my God, you're pregnant. Oh my God, I didn't realize. And I made it up. I just made up. I just said yes. And I pretended I had a due date and I'd been for my scans because I just couldn't get out of the situation. There was so many people in the room and I was
Oh
just
no.
so embarrassed. So I just went ahead with it and just went along with the story.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
And I can
Wow.
remember dying to come home, and I can remember getting in the car to come home, and I just burst into tears in the car. I was like, I just need to let it out. Like,
Of course. Oh, that's so hard. It's so hard. Wow. Man, I can't,
yeah,
yeah. I don't blame you. Yep.
frustration. So I've got a bit of a curveball question here to end. So, what wellness trend or a practice that you find interesting but unconventional do you think has potential benefits? Like, what can you share with the listeners?
Ah, yeah. Um, hmm. So unconventional is hard because to me, all of this makes sense. It's using our bodies to help our body out. So
Very
I'm like,
true,
"Oh, I guess
but maybe
it's not,
unconventional to the people who
yes.
have never even come across what we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah. I love vagus nerve work a lot. The vagus nerve,
Nice.
even when I was going through graduate school, like the vagus nerve is so fascinating to me. It's one of our cranial nerves, one of our kind of big important ones, and it does so much stuff for our body. But there's a cool way that so breathing, your diaphragm.
Mhm.
And using your diaphragm is a way that you can get your body to kind of go into a parasympathetic, calming, relaxation state. And the vagus nerve kind of controls that in a sense. And so it's neat because breathing is to my knowledge, one of the very, or the only, or the very few ways that we can kind of bounce between the involuntary side and
And the yeah,
voluntary side of our nervous system.
yeah,
And so you use the vagus nerve when you use your diaphragm. So if you do that diaphragmatic breathing, you're activating your parasympathetic and you're kind of going into voluntary, involuntary world. So you're just really kind of, I'd say, hacking the system. It's
and
your system. So you're just using it.
the vagus nerves, it is located in the brain, isn't it?
It is in the brainstem. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
at the back of the brain. Yeah,
Yes. So with that, one of my favorite, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do to do vagal hygiene and vagal toning and stuff. My favorite is I have a TENS unit or an E-stim unit,
hmm,
and I have a tragus clip. And so you can hook up the E-stim unit to your tragus of your ear. And it's a way, and you turn it on to a low frequency. And it's a way that you can kind of help tone the nerve. And for me, this has been clutch in really managing a lot of my GI symptoms and can really get me into a more regulated state when I'm having a hard time at getting on top of regulation. So if
yeah.
GI is out of whack, I'm in pain, I just can't get a hang on things, I'll do about 2 weeks of right before bed, and for 20 minutes, I just kind of hook up the nerve stimulator and I'm immediately just go into this like kind of state.
So
And I
it's like your own little sort of natural drug, isn't it? Your own little natural pharmacy, like
It's so weird, and I feel like it's unconventional because for some it's like, okay, but that's the tragus, it's not, but there's some research out there to support that this can help with vagal tone and helping you with parasympathetic and even help with GI regulation and stuff too. So, that's my unconventional thing I
but
really do love. I
and also if it helps you, then it works.
you know, I even pack that sucker on vacations now. I'll fly across the world and have my little E-stim unit with me. So I'm like, I know I'm not risk it's too good. But yeah, so
I
that's my
take on my vacations, I take a yoga brick, which
okay.
sounds a bit strange, but
I like to sit on one of those cross-legged to do meditation. And it's also really handy. If I have a flare up, I feel like if I lie on my back and put the block underneath, so it's like a relaxed, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a back bend, but with the block underneath my lower back,
Mhm.
that just releases the pain for me within
Oh.
seconds.
Oh, I
Mhm.
like that. I'm gonna have to try that. I got
Yeah,
my yoga block right here,
yeah. So you just
ready.
lie in shavasana and then get the block underneath your lower back and then just
Let
let the
go.
arms relax and oh, it's just amazing. Just that tilt of the spine and I think it's the uterus as well, just that tilt of everything coming back and then just let everything relax into the ground and it's beautiful. So relaxing.
I'm gonna try that. That sounds great.
So before we'll wrap up, Jess, is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners?
Yes, don't have painful sex. That's a lot of women think that if you can just push through it or keep going or eventually it gets better, I just got to get used to it. And no, it's not. Sex should not be painful. Even your first time should not be painful. A lot of times it is painful because we expect it to be painful, so we clench up, and then it's like, "Oh, see, it was painful," and then you continue to share that narrative. But no, it should not be painful. Our bodies are designed to do this. They actually are even designed to push a baby out. So we can definitely take in a penis and different size things, and it shouldn't be painful. So if that's you and you're experiencing painful sex, it's time for you to go get some answers and advocate for yourself and stop having painful sex because it's not your pleasure is well worth your investment in getting past this. So that's, yeah,
Very good advice. Thank you for that. And just
awesome.
for our listeners, all of the links to how to contact Jess will be in the show notes. And obviously, if anyone's listening for my links as well, they'll all be there for you too. So, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Jess for joining us
Thank you.
today. It's been absolutely wonderful having you on the Whispers of the Womb podcast. So, thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for giving space for such delicate topics that don't get talked about enough. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this enlightening episode of Whispers of the Womb, I want to extend heartfelt gratitude to Jess for sharing her inspiring journey and invaluable insights. Jess, your resilience and commitment to empowering women are truly commendable. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of mind-body connections, neural modulation, and the transformative power of community. If Jess's story resonated with you, or if you have your own experiences to share, feel free to reach out to one of us. We're here as a supportive collective community at Whispers of the Womb, and your stories really do matter. Remember, your wellness journey is unique, and every step forward is a triumph. Until next time, take a moment for self-care, embrace the whispers of your own womb, and continue on this beautiful path toward holistic well-being. I'm Suzanne, signing off with love and light. Stay well and stay empowered. Namaste.